Living with a mental health condition in low and middle income countries is tough due to the lack of access to services, pervasive stigma, and retrogressive cultural beliefs. Sadly, the Kenyan government spends a paltry 0.01% of annual health budget on mental health, and the total number of mental health workers per 100,000 population is 0.19. 10.8% of Kenyans suffer mental illnesses at any time, and the World Health Organization estimates that up to 80% of these people do not receive treatment. The aim of the documentary Alika is to demystify mental health by sharing true stories of people who have struggled with mental illnesses and triumphed. It articulates their stories of how they found help in the face of an 80% treatment gap and found their footing. This will help bust the myths and stereotypes of doom and gloom surrounding mental illness.
I want to use these very inspirational stories of these ladies and gentlemen who have triumphed over mental illnesses to change people's perception on mental health so that we can eradicate stigma and so that we can, as a society, normalize talk on mental health. Unless we do this, people will continue to die from suicide and people will continue to suffer from untreated and unattended mental health conditions. My name is Iregi Mwenja. I'm the founder and CEO of Psychiatric Disability Organization.
Iregi left a well-paying job as a country director of an international NGO to pursue mental health advocacy work. However, for Iregi, this was not just professional, but personal. Growing up, he was traumatized by the numerous social challenges stemming from an undiagnosed attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, ADHD.
I was born a healthy boy to a loving father and mother, but as fate would have it, things did not remain this good for long. At 4 years of age, I joined what I call the 5% double tragedy club. I joined other unlucky kids who lose their parent, and when I lost my beloved dad. And the same year, I came of age for an ADHD diagnosis, which makes 5% of kids globally. And I started officially my 30-year-long journey with undiagnosed ADHD.
My name is Cynthia Wambua. I'm a mother of 2.
Cynthia called PDO after 2 failed suicide attempts. She wanted support to buy bipolar medication as well as fight an alcohol addiction that was messing up her health, social and professional life. Her family had given up on her and had shut the door on her. Due to frequent absenteeism, she was now facing imminent dismissal from work.
I had severe depression for the longest time and I did not know. So it all started with the issues in my life. I went through some very hurting experience. I went to marriage and then it ended up having domestic violence. After that, my mom died of cancer 3 weeks after I'd left my marriage. And we went through a grueling divorce period of child custody that it took me through a lot of issues because even at that time I had my career to focus and concentrate on and also to raise the children. So I didn't even have time to think of where I was or what was going on in my life or what was going on inside me. So it just started with just getting tired, feeling hopeless, feeling I didn't want to do anything, to wake up, to even just go to work. And then I got also in some severe insomnia. I couldn't sleep. So I would take a glass of wine, and you know when you take a glass of wine, today it becomes 2, then the next day it's 3, then you go to the hard stuff. So it was so bad because I couldn't deal with the antidepressants. So what I did, I continued drinking, and it became quite dramatic. Many of the times I would not wake up, I just have the drink under my bed, and I was crying out to God because I was feeling I'm struggling and I'm slipping away and I'm going to die.
Have you ever thought of what this diagnosis can do to your life and to your health? My name is Irene Wanchiko Inena, a bipolar survivor.
Irene first contacted PDO after she discontinued her studies at Kenyatta University due to a condition known as bipolar that was spinning out of control, which had been misdiagnosed as depression for years and treated as such without much success. Things had turned for the worse when her father was diagnosed with cancer and her brother, who was drinking heavily, had become suicidal.
Earlier on, I had been misdiagnosed with depression and treated for quite some time, but it was not working because actually I was being treated for the wrong illness until I came to realize I have bipolar. And before I even realized that bipolar, my life was really a mess because no matter how much I looked for help, I couldn't get the help, and it was getting a bit crazy. But after I learned about bipolar, life has been good and life has been better. But I'll take you back to the story of when, by the time I learned I had bipolar, I was depressed. That made me discontinue school. I discontinued my studies at the university, Kenyatta University, because my concentration was low. I couldn't control my moods. I was either too happy or too sad. I would get suicidal at some point, so it was really crazy. My mind was like running. I didn't know exactly what was going on. So I discontinued school. Then my lowest point was at some point I had family issues. I had a brother who was drinking. My dad was diagnosed with cancer. And still I was struggling with an illness I didn't know anything about. So at that point I knew I needed help, and because my world was crashing.
My name is Jackie. I'm 32 years of age, and in the year 2017 I discovered I have bipolar disorder. So my life has been a journey. I've been a happy girl since birth, and jovial, you know, the kind of girl that people would want to associate with. I was and I'm still the life of a party, and I had so many friends. And in 2017, towards the end of 2016, that is, my behavior changed. I withdrew from people, and after withdrawing from people, I never used to be this girl that was the hype of the party. Though I would show people that I'm good when they talk to me, but initially I was withdrawn. And within no time, I kept to myself so much that I did not get out of the house. I stayed a week without going to work. And at that time, my sons were living with me because initially before they had been taken by my mother-in-law. So when they came back, I decided with everything that was going around me, the debts, because right now I was living an extravagant life that I could not be able to manage. But now I was in debts. And I recall I went to a hotel and I tried to kill my kids, literally. And I made a concoction of poison for my sons to take. And then my plan was my sons take the poison, and then I'll commit suicide.
I was a typical ADHD kid. I was labeled, I was punished, I was isolated. These experiences made me hate school, my mom, and generally my miserable life. Nobody understood what I was going through. They didn't know I was as frustrated as they were, if not more. But an inner voice always told me I was destined for bigger things in life, and this gave me a glimmer of hope.
As an adult, he chose not to allow the trauma poison him with hate. Rather, it gave him a personal sense of responsibility, love, and care for people, especially those going through similar challenges. Instead of mourning his adversity for the rest of his life, he decided to turn his pain into an opportunity to help others by registering the psychiatric disability organization PDO Kenya, a peer-led mental health charity delivering free community-based services through a social innovation model called Pamoja Initiative.
I decided to prove the naysayers wrong by working extremely hard in my academics. Luckily, I did well, and I trained as a conservation biologist with 3 degrees under my cap. I had a good job and a high-flying career, but it wasn't giving me the fulfillment that I wanted. Naturally, when I finally received my ADHD diagnosis after my 35th birthday, my life got a new meaning. They say what doesn't break you makes you stronger. I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I never wanted any other child to live for 35 years with an undiagnosed mental health condition. I'll go through the suffering I went through due to lack of awareness and lack of services.
This time, I started feeling it's time for me now just to go, because the medications were not helping. The society has expectation. I'm a woman, I'm a mother. There was a lot, and everyone was looking at me, my family, like I'm actually being irresponsible because what is going on? When they expected me to fall, I did not fall. So no one, even I myself, could not understand. So in those feelings of hopelessness, I remember I started reaching out. I'll go to Facebook, and at times people use that as a therapeutic platform. I'll post all these kind of things. So one day I saw one of my friends has posted issues on mental health, and I was quite attracted to it. So I started engaging him in conversation, and he told me about the Psychiatric Disability Organization.
PDO gave her psychological support, and she started the reconciliation process with her family. For 8 months, PDO stood with Cynthia during her struggle with depression and addiction. Finally, she accepted to check herself into rehab with the help of her employer. Today, Cynthia is 10 months sober and is adhering to her bipolar medication. Since coming out of rehab, she has not experienced any relapse. She reconciled with her family, and her boss at work is pleased with her amazing recovery journey.
It was one of the most amazing experiences in my life, because I went through the program, I internalized it, I got to understand the conditions that I had, I got to understand even bipolar comes because of trauma, and at times even genetic, because I went through counseling. They took me back even to my childhood, and the issues that I had not dealt with, I was able to deal with, and the ones that I couldn't actually handle it. That particular time, I was able to have the serenity, just to accept these things are like this. But now, at least now I know my triggers, I know how to balance my life, I know what I want, I have my controls, and I can say it's amazing.
Personal problems compounded by the family problems triggered a severe episode of depression that was not responding to any medication as a result of the wrong diagnosis. Unable to bear the pain anymore, she finally made the 160-kilometer journey to Nakuru to be seen by our psychiatrist. She was put on a new treatment regime and given a therapist to walk with her through her recovery.
So that's why I reached out and I sought help in Nakuru. That's the point I met a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist was able to pick out the point that I was actually being treated for the wrong illness. I had bipolar, not depression.
Within 4 months, she had fully stabilized and was readmitted back to Kenyatta University to finish her bachelor's degree in psychology. She is graduating this year after bipolar had temporarily halted her dream for 8 years. She now spends her time offering counseling services in most cases to people in distress but who cannot afford a therapist.
So I worried not for the intervention that I got, and I learned that I had a different condition from what I had been treated for nearly around 7 years without getting any help, without getting any improvement. I wouldn't be where I am, and I wouldn't be a success story of you can live with mental illness and still function normally, and as long as there's adherence, the life changes, and you're able to control your life and everything, and you can be happy, you can enjoy life, and life can make more sense. For me, it has been an awesome journey after learning that I have bipolar, because now you're able to learn you're bipolar, so you know the pros and the cons, you know what to do, what not to do, what to engage in, what not to engage in, and you no longer have the dark moments and the extremes, the extreme happy and extreme behaviors, or the low side of depression and suicide and everything. It's like you reach an equilibrium, your life gets a balance. You're able to balance and be like anybody else. Even if you met me in the streets, you wouldn't quite pick that I have a mental illness or I have something, a condition that I live with, because it's under control. So anything is possible, and mental health or mental illness is not the end of everything. It's just the beginning of a new life and a new journey.
And it took me around 2 to 1 month and a half of accepting I have bipolar disorder. Then I had to conform and accept I have it. And when I accepted I have bipolar disorder and got to know what bipolar disorder is, I did researches of what bipolar disorder is, what is expected of me. And then I worked together with my doctors towards my medication, the exercises and everything. And my family was brought on board as my support system. I thank God my employer also came on board to ensure that I get good medical care and that I'm able to function at work. And I gave myself that courage and confidence to live my life. Then I also realized the stigma that goes with bipolar disorder. And I decided to be an advocate of mental health. And I started reaching out to people who have bipolar disorder and other mental health disorders, and just giving them a hand and walking with them the journey is also a healing process for me, and empowering them and also making them walk the journey with others.
These brave ambassadors of mental health contacted PDO Kenya during their lowest moments and received professional help they needed to recover. Today, their careers are back on track, and they are proud to share their stories with the world so as to motivate and inspire others. Most of all, they want to help eradicate that stigma that prevents many people from seeking help, leaving millions suffering in silence. The Swahili word Alika means to invite or welcome. Through our work, we invite people to access the support they need. We invite people and organizations to join our community. We invite the people and institutions of Kenya to think differently about mental health. We invite people and families struggling with mental health to come and heal with dignity.